our trustee, noted scientist and environmentalist, Professor Amitav Malik, other trustees and members of PIC and friends. Welcome to this edition of PIC Adda, a monthly event at the Pune International Center where we have close interactions with a well-known personality on a given topic. Today we have Mr. Avinash Dharmadhikari with us, well known most certainly to the people of Pune and Maharashtra as a multifaceted personality who has been engaged in preparing the youth for the service of the nation through the civil services and otherwise. Mr. Dharmadhikari had famously resigned from the IAS in 1996 when he was Deputy Secretary to the Chief Minister of Maharashtra to serve the society. He is founder and director of Chanakya Mandal Pariwar, working in the field of career guidance and personality development, and he will be speaking to us on learnings from Swami Vivekananda. Indeed, when we think of Swami Vivekananda, we are reminded of his emphasis on discipline of the mind and the body, service to the poorest of the poor, his historic Chicago address at the young age of 30, his enormous pride and deep knowledge of Hinduism and the extraordinary spiritual heritage of India, and not to forget his scientific temper. As we know, Jamshedji Tata had discussed his plans to set up the Indian Institute of Science, Bengaluru, with Swami Vivekananda while traveling by ship from Japan to Canada in 1893. We are now ready for our talk by Mr. Dharmadhikari, and I would like to mention that we will have a short Q&A session, and you may please post your questions in the chat box. I would now like to welcome Mr. Dharmadhikari to present his talk. Over to you, sir.
Honorable Dr. Mashelkar sir, Honorable Dr. Vijay Kelkar sir, I call both of them as modern rishis. That's our idea. So Mashelkar in form of Mashelkar sir and Dr. Kelkar sir, we have modern rishis, and all PIC people who are here to learn from Swamiji. Something I try to learn, and my learning continues. I'm also thankful to PIC for thinking of me as worthy enough to have this interaction and the opportunity to talk on my Guru. I am that fortunate person who found Swamiji right in my childhood. It is almost a God-given gift that I used to like to read books. And then in secondary market, I found a book by Swami Vivekananda. The name of the book is Raja Yoga, and the book is written by Swamiji himself. In that book, Swamiji explains how anyone who wants to start one's own sadhana, one's own yoga sadhana, how he or she should start. In my childhood, I was transfixed with his words. It was like Swamiji speaking to me on the paper. But I wanted to perform my own yoga sadhana from this book. So something I learned is to perform yoga sadhana. Then I had another luck to go on to have my education at this Pune-based school, Jnana Prabodhini, which is also based on Swamiji's thought. Then working in the civil service also, I found Swamiji guiding. And now that I'm doing, after resigning, I'm doing this small educational work, Chanakya Mandal. That is also based on all thought by Swamiji. So my learning goes on. And today I get an opportunity to share with you how I go on learning and how all of us continue to learn from Swamiji. In the history of humanity, the date 9/11 is permanently etched in our memory. I think 9/11/2000 is a defining moment, as defining as Kennedy's assassination was back in 1963. These are events where everyone remembers where we were at that point of time. I had the pleasure and the honor of Director General with Government of India back in 2001. I had finished my day and was just reaching home when my wife called from our home in, and she said, "Are you watching the news?" I had not yet switched on the news. So she said, "Switch it on and see what is happening." By the time I switched on, the first aeroplane had hit the North Tower, and the whole North Tower in New York was blazing. I got to see the second plane crash into the South Tower, and then the news of a third plane hitting Pentagon CIA site, and the fourth plane brought down by the people within that plane. 9/11, 2001. And that very moment when I was seeing that, I was reminded of another 9/11, which my friend Abhay Vaidya has also reminded you. This 9/11 happens to be from the year 1893. And on that September 11, Swami Vivekananda gave his history-making, defining moment in human history, the speech introducing Hindu Dharma to all the people, all the delegates over there. This was Parliament of Religions, and everyone was supposed to talk about one's own religion. Throughout the day, many dignitaries rose up and addressed the gathering, explaining how their path to God, that their God is the only God, and their prophet is the only prophet, and their path to reaching God through the path shown by the prophet is the only prophet. So, like for salvation, humanity should embrace only that religion. Here was Swami Vivekananda, who stood up that day, did not know what to speak. He has himself stated that all he did is he folded his hands and prayed. His Guru, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, came behind the mic and then uttered those world famous words, "Sisters and brothers of America." And then, thanks to American journalists, that we know what happened in that hall on that day. People started clapping. There was standing ovation for almost 10 minutes. Hats were thrown up in the air. In the session, standing ovation is like greatest of the honors. And here was a sannyasi standing behind, and to the heart of thousands of them sitting in the hall and another millions outside, here was a call from this heart to the hearts of everyone as sisters and brothers. For 50 years, I have known these words, but I must tell you, I can't explain the magic behind these words. All I can say is these are magic words. And on September 11, 1893, this is a magic moment, and it's a magic and a miracle. A simple sannyasi in the sannyasi clothes stands up and addresses everyone as sisters and brothers of America. I try to explain what is the magic behind these words. Is it because I was Christian? And it's a Christian concept, like all religions say the same thing, that we are all sons and daughters of the same God that makes us sisters and brothers. And is it because therefore the audience thought that here is a sannyasi coming from far off the other half of the world, and he has understood Christianity so much that he addresses us as sisters and brothers? Is this magic moment because other dignitaries were addressing people in extremely formal words? Ladies and gentlemen, this august assembly, etc. Simple man standing, devoid of all formalities, straight away saying sisters and brothers. Or finally, I continue to think, is it because here was a sannyasi who had reached that level in life? His renunciation was all renunciation of kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsara. And that has taken him into that state of being where he indeed thinks of entire humanity as one. Therefore, all people become sisters and brothers. I must still tell you that while I try all these theories, nothing explains the magic, and I have learned to live it as magic. And after saying others of America, a less than 3-minute magic continued. Swamiji saying that he represents Hindu Dharma, he called it mother of all religions, and explained what is Hindu Dharma. From Shiva Mahimna Stotra, Ruchi Nam Vaichitrya, Rujukutila Nana Pathajusham, Nruna Meko Twame Kam Gamyas Twamasi Arnava Iva. As all water flows from different roads, different flows into the same ocean, so also all of us are from our own path. Swamiji explained this age-old Indian understanding and perception of Ekam Sat Vipraha Bahuda Vadanti, that truth is one. Knowledgeable people call it Bhavik. So let us not be each other's enemies, and let us not insist that my truth is the only truth, my God is the only God, and my prophet sent by that God is the only prophet, and my book given to my prophet is the only book. Swamiji said, let this parliament of religions be a starting point of mingling of all religions. In Shiva Mahimna Stotra, Swamiji explained the meaning of Hindu religion, the dharma that teaches that God is one. Call that God by whatever name you want to call. And there are different paths of reaching the same God. Let all of us follow the path of one's own conviction and have no sense of enmity, no violence, neither in words nor in action, no compulsion, no coercion, asking others to follow my path. The realization that we are going to reach the same place. That is India's greatest contribution to even making of human civilization and explaining the meaning of Hindu Dharma. This is what Swamiji explained. I also find it very meaningful that it comes from a sannyasi. I remember a sentence by Gandhiji, and Gandhiji has stated that my life is my message. I think this is true for almost all great people. Their life itself is the message. Here is a rebel child questioning everything, not following any discipline, and not doing something just because some elderly person says so. But his rebellion is creative rebellion, not destructive rebellion. So as a beautiful, handsome youngster, he would go on asking people, have you seen God? How easily do we speak about God in our day-to-day life also? And that is in almost every language. Ishwar Echa, Ram Bharose, God's grace, Inshallah, all mean the same thing. And then this young Narendra, anytime he would come across these words, he would immediately stop that person and say, have you seen God? His mother was devoted to God. So he would ask Bhuvaneshwari Devi, have you seen God? And the mother answered, saying, you will understand when you grow up. This answer makes me wonder whether God is some adult thing and we begin to understand God when we grow up. Narendra also posed this question to one of the founders of Brahmo Samaj, Maharshi Devendranath Thakur. We worship God at Brahmo Samaj. So have you seen God? Maharshi Devendranath Thakur looked at young Narendra and he said, your eyes are like a yogi. Now eyes may be like a yogi, but what is the question? Have you seen God? Please answer the question. Narendra's rebelliousness goes on. Even in the college, when Professor Hesty, who was also the principal of that college, was teaching a beautiful poem of Wordsworth. The title of the poem is Excursion. Wordsworth, the romantic poet, describes an excursion in the nature. And while being one with the nature, Professor Hasty was teaching this poem, and in a flow he just happened to say that Wordsworth finds God in nature. Up went Narendra's hand, and he stood up and asked, "Sir, you just talked about God. Have you seen God?" This time Narendra got a different answer. Unlike all previous answers, here was a British person, Professor Dr. Hasty, who said, "This is a good question. I have not seen God, but I know the person who has seen God." And standing on the second floor of the college, Professor Hasty pointed out to the other end of Ganga river, where the Dakshineshwara temple was visible. And he said, "Go ask the Pujari, the priest of that temple, the unlettered, ignorant priest of that temple, that was Ramakrishna Paramahamsa." Now, Narendra's rebelliousness, like I said, was creative rebelliousness. He won't ask questions in the classroom just to impress others, and certainly not to insult the teacher. So here was a rebellious question, which received a very different kind of answer. Next day, Narendra actually went to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. And when Ramakrishna saw him walk towards him, Ramakrishna had tears in his eyes, and he said, "I have been waiting for you for such a long time. Where were you for such a long time?" Swamiji himself has stated that in our very first visit, Ramakrishna started speaking like this, and I wondered whether he is a madman. And then Swamiji posed him this famous question, "Have you seen God?" Again, this time he got a very different answer. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa answered, "Yes, I have seen God. I talked to God." Ramakrishna's sentence was, "You are sitting in front of me and I am talking to you. That I talk to God and that I see God is more real than you are sitting in front of me and talking before me." Later on, Swamiji himself has said about his Guru Ramakrishna, "One sentence of my master will create cartload of literature." I think this is true for Swamiji also. One sentence of my master, I take Swami Vivekananda as my Guru. One sentence of my master will create cartload of literature. Here was an unlettered person telling young Narendra, "I have seen God. And in fact, the fact that I see God, I talk to God, is more real than you are sitting here and my talking to you." I won't right now explain all Vedanta and the Mayavad, which is even now being more increasingly proven by quantum mechanics. But that person before me is Maya. When we transcend all material reality, we start seeing that Brahma, that Chaitanya, that pervades us all. Here was Ramakrishna who answered him. So young Narendra was impressed, but he did not set aside his rational intellect. Here is young Narendra who put his own Guru to test, who went on testing his Guru. In one of the talks, Ramakrishna said that the touch of money burns my skin. I can't stand the touch of money. So when a pravachan was going on in the temple, Narendra sneaked into Ramakrishna's room, placed a couple of rupee coins below Ramakrishna's bed, and he hid behind the door. Then Ramakrishna walked into his room, sat down, but immediately stood up and he said, I am burning, there is something. So Narendra came out and he said, "I had taken your test." Ramakrishna would teach non-dualism, Advaita. Whole world, whole universe is expression of one single Chaitanya, and we are expression of that Chaitanya. This table is the expression of that Chaitanya. The horse cart and the horse traveling across the road is that Chaitanya. So one evening, Narendra was discussing with another disciple, Pratap, and Pratap was trying to say that Gurudev teaches us Advaita, non-dualism, Narendra guffawed and he said, you may think that that donkey walking on the road and you have the same Brahma Chaitanya in you. I don't think so. So Ramakrishna walked towards him and he said, what are you discussing? Narendra laughed at even Ramakrishna and he said, this Pratap is in that donkey on the road and all of us. So I told him that you too may have the same Chaitanya, but not me. Then what happened? Next, what happened has been described by Swamiji himself. Swamiji said, he asked me to come in and just touch my forehead. And I saw everything dissolve into each other. He made me realize oneness. I also shouted, what are you doing? I have my mother and my brothers and sisters at home. And then I don't know what happened. But Ramakrishna Paramahansa transcended and handed over the experience of non-dualism. And after a while, everything came back to normal. Things separated from each other and he was back into this material world. And then Ramakrishna told him, your purpose of life mission is to do something here in India and the world. Until then, now I am quoting you, closing you in Maya. And the day your mission will be done, you will no more want to stay here in this world. After a while, Ramakrishna Paramahansa passed away. There is something very significant that happened on the night when everyone knew that Gurudev Ramakrishna is not going to see the next day morning. Narendra was standing outside, still thinking that my Guru says this, but is he all for real? He was still questioning his Guru. As he was thinking this, a disciple came out and he said, Gurudev is calling you. So Narendra went in and sat by the bed of Ramakrishna Paramahansa. And then Swamiji himself has described what happened next. He says, Ramakrishna took my hand in his hand, closed his eyes. I felt some sort of electric current entering my body for a while. And after a while, Ramakrishna opened his eyes and he said, I have handed over all my tapasarya to you. I have become a beggar now. I'm free to leave. That night, Ramakrishna Paramahansa left his body. Narendra, along with 12 of Krishna Paramahansa, formed a mutt and started performing their own tapasarya. But Narendra would have this creative sense of upset that my Guru has talked about a mission and I don't know what is that mission. So Narendra decided to travel all over India. That is his Bharat Darshan, as we call. Narendra traveled from places to places and different places of pilgrimage. And one day he would stay with the king and the other day he would sleep by the side of the road, not knowing where his next lunch is coming. Swamiji saw India that had great potential, but it had lost self-belief. Swamiji saw the great meaning of dharma, but in reality, the meaning of that dharma was lost. Later on, Swamiji himself has said that we have forgotten the meaning of dharma and it has only become don't touchism, the concepts of solar and over and don't touchism. So Swamiji traveled all over India. It is his travels during which he came to know about the Parliament of Religion organized in USA. And then the king of Khetri and the king of Ramnad also encouraged Swamiji to go there as representative of Hindu religion. Then Swamiji, as we famously know, reached Kanyakumari, saw that famous rock on which now we have Vivekananda Rock Memorial. Swamiji jumped into the ocean, swam to that rock and sat still for 3 days and 3 nights with a determination that now unless I know my mission, I will not take my meditation. And then as Swamiji himself said, he had this drishtanta as if Gurudev Ramakrishna was walking across the ocean, beckoning him to follow. Swamiji interpreted that drishtanta to mean that Gurudev visit this Parliament of Religions. He still wanted the permission from the Mutt that is wife of Ramakrishna. She gave the permission, and this is how we know Swamiji went to USA. Simply the story of Swamiji's Dharma Vijay, as it is called, will be like more than 2 hour story. But we have started with that story. Parliament of Religions, 9/11, 1893. Since 9/11, 2001, I have felt that the world has these two paradigms in front of it. I have also named this paradigm as Swami Vivekananda Banam Bin Laden. Here is Bin Laden getting the terrorist to crash aeroplanes into the buildings. And the message is, my God is the only God. My prophet is the only prophet. My book given to my prophet by sooner or later you better accept that or I will destroy you. And here is Swami Vivekananda paradigm that says that God is one. There are different paths of reaching the God. So that you are not even to believe in God, but our journeys are towards the same truth. Let us not hate each other. Let us not shed blood. Let us not take to or even court. But that becomes Sahishnuta, which is Sahishnuta, born of realization that Ekam Sat, the truth is one. Now people only call it by different names. So once we know this, why would we hate others just because they have different thought? The whole edifice of Indian civilization is based on this concept of Sahish. I feel the intolerance of versus violent insistence on my truth. I am a small soldier on the side of tolerance and universal acceptance. And with the belief, with the conviction that if humanity is to survive, and if humanity is to survive with dignity, all of us have to follow this tolerance. Explained in modern times by Swami Vivekananda, and the whole edifice of Indian civilization, as I understand, stands on this foundation of non-dualism, the non-dualism that helps us understand and be Sahishnu and serve. In political science, there are theories of pluralism. That political theory of pluralism will pale into insignificance in light of Indian Sahishnuta and Sarva Samaveshakata. Sarva is translated into English as all inclusive, but I think there is no exact translation to Indian term Sahishnuta. Sahishnuta is not just tolerance. Is almost an arrogant term that in spite of your opinion being different from my opinion, and in spite of my conviction that my opinion is the truth, you. Such a tolerance is arrogance. Sahishnuta goes way beyond even liberalism. Liberalism is that state of mind or political approach where we are ready to accept different opinions. Sahishnuta says that what you are saying may be different from what I am saying, but at its root, we are saying one and the same thing. Anekatva, the capacity to see ekatva in anekatva, is Indian concept of unity in diversity. Swamiji is the shining example of that unity in diversity, and modern Indian nationalism also stands on the same edifice. To have this expression of modern Indian nationalism from this Swami is, I think, the greatest statement of modern Indian nationalism. I am impressed, and it touches my heart where Swamiji says, in peaceful and holy way, that the age-old ancient India is waking up again. the modern statement of Indian nationalism comes from a Swami who has renounced all material pursuits. Entire India from Kashmir to Kanyakumari as one nation, and he asked us to go all over the world, which means India also has a global role to play. Swamiji has stated that India has a global role to play, and at the same time, India has a lot to learn from the world. In his talk, East and West, Swamiji says that we have to teach spiritualism, Adhyatma philosophy to the rest of the world, especially the West, but learn all modern sciences, all technology and economic well-being from the West. There is this Vedic prayer, Prunvanto Vishwamaryam. Our job is to turn, but at the same time, there is this Vedic prayer of Ano Kratavo Yantu Vishwataha. Let all good thoughts come to me from all over the world. So there is this mutual interaction about which Swamiji speaks. And right from Swamiji to now, the whole world accepting June 21 as International Yoga Day is the expression of what of the historical process that Swamiji started. Over there in the West, Swamiji explained the meaning of Indian Adhyatma, how it is scientific. But when we see a different Swamiji. Here is Swamiji telling Indian people, sometimes in even bitter words, criticizing the and telling them how we have diverted from the path of Dharma. What is the meaning of that original path of Dharma? That is the famous lecture series of Swamiji known as From Colombo to Almora. Swamiji had already become like a rock star in India, and he had spent 4 years there in USA and Britain and also parts of Europe. And after those 4 years of Dharma Vijay, he came back, and when he descended from the ship at Colombo, there were like million people waiting there to welcome him. That he had explained Indian Adhyatma to the rest of the world. This is Dharma Vijay, a concept of victory in which there is no victor and the vanquished. This victory is where everyone is victor because the meaning of Dharma has been imparted to the people. So, commonest of the common Indian people who still understand that meaning of Dharma, they were to welcome Swamiji there. And then Swamiji's famous journey from Colombo to the last station, Almora in Himalayas, that started. I hope every one of us reads that original book, Colombo to Almora. As Swamiji went on traveling from place to place, he went on addressing people on different themes. Like at one place in Ramnath, he spoke about the plan of my campaign. Swamiji explained that he wants to undertake the task of education. He said, we have come to this sorry plight because of lack of education. And for upliftment of the whole country, what we need is education, education, education. So Swamiji's idea was to found such an institution in which the selfless sannyasi teachers would be prepared and they would fan out different parts of India and the world, educating commonest of the common people. In saying so, Swamiji also gave a very different meaning to sannyasa. Unfortunately, until then, sannyasa meant turning your back on this world, material world, because material world is all maya, it is all illusion. So in search of truth, we should renounce all this and maybe go there somewhere in Himalayas and perform our penance. Here was Swamiji who said that if the whole world is one, if everyone is the expression, manifestation of same God, then until commonest of the common masses, toiling masses are suffering from exploitation, what other God are we talking about? Now, this may appear like words in my speech or just some words in Swamiji's speech, but they are so profoundly meaningful. Swamiji said that masses are God, that God is expressed in man, and serving Daridri Narayan, poorest of the poor masses, is the task of the sannyasi. So you renounce material world. Now you become selfless, but your job is to serve those toiling masses, release them from exploitation, and show them the right path. Swamiji gave a revolutionary meaning to the very concept of sannyasa, and then he stated his educational work. Allow me to say that the small educational work I am doing is based on all Swamiji's thought and its modernization, because here was a sannyasi who said, hold your breath and listen carefully. A sannyasi who teaches the meaning of dharma to everyone. That sannyasi says, you will earn your salvation more through football than through Gita. Talking to the youngsters, Swamiji is not asking them to devote yourself to studying Gita. Swamiji is asking them to devote themselves to developing strength. Another of a beautiful phrase used by Swamiji is, what we want is nerves of muscles of iron and nerves of steel. So nurture strength. And in that pursuit of strength, Swamiji said, you will earn your salvation more through Gita, more through football than through Gita. In explaining the meaning of dharma also, and the real dharma is serving commonest of the common people, here is a sannyasi who said, religion is not for empty bellies. We don't need any Karl Marx to tell this to us. Swamiji talks about it. And religion is not for empty bellies. So the best religion, it is also like a sentence by Mahatma Gandhiji. He said, if God is to come to earth, he will take birth in form of bread. So feeding the people, releasing them from the clutches of exploitation is real dharma. This is what a sannyasi says. The universal meaning and the universal application of India's spiritual thought is what is explained by this sannyasi. That is what makes Indian nationalism in consonance with universalism. So Indian nationalism is not us versus they. Indian nationalism, as defined by Swamiji, is not right or wrong, my country. Indian nationalism does not become Nazism or fascism, but Indian nationalism itself grows and includes the consciousness of one. So Indian nationalism becomes universalism in the thought presented by Swamiji. About 120 years ago, Swamiji gave diagnosis of Indian problems and also suggested solutions. See how Swamiji reacts to caste system. While at some point of time, it may have had its own role, Swamiji says that caste system is now the instrument of exploitation, and it is time we forget caste. And everyone, this message of Adhyatma is to be reached out to everyone, and the godliness in everyone is to be awakened. Caste is the greatest curse to Indian civilization, and Swamiji, like Babasaheb Ambedkar, talks of annihilation of caste. Swamiji, a sannyasi, also talks about women and their liberation. Swamiji says, any society that weakens 50% of the part has no right, no moral right whatsoever to talk of the strength. So if strong India is to be built, and if that strong India is to work towards building strong world, then we have to give equal and respectable position to women folk. Women is all Shakti, the Kali, the Durga, the Gauri in Indian civilization. But we have made them into downtrodden. So we need to rise above narrow sectarian considerations and ensure that women enjoy equal position in the society. So if we are to learn anything from Swamiji, it is all these lessons. I started out by saying that I was lucky enough to find Swamiji's book Raja Yoga in my childhood. if you ask me, there is one thing to be learned from Swamiji, I would urge everyone to learn yoga and make it a part of daily practice of yoga. Fortunately, thanks to government's work, the world has accepted June 21 as International Yoga Day. The tradition that started with Swamiji, anything, something we learn, is yoga. Swamiji, as Abhay Vaidya also already stated, his scientific temper and which resulted into Jamshedji establishing the Institute of Science. Swamiji says that we should pursue science and apply all criteria of rationalism to even Adhyatma philosophy, because Swamiji was convinced during his time, he studied science and explained how science itself is explaining Adhyatma. Swamiji also kind of predicted the future, and he said, more science develops, science will merge into Adhyatma, and more we study Adhyatma on scientific lines, we will see that Adhyatma itself is science. I think that stage of humanity has come. Modern science tells us about oneness of the entire universe. Why even one universe? If as per the physics theory, if there is multiverse, all of it is from one single energy, and you and I and every manifestation that we see is the expression of that one single energy. Let us realize that energy. So science and Vedanta are one. Swamiji has also told us in beautiful way how we should live our own life. What an easy and a beautiful paragraph that is. Swamiji says, take one idea and be a seed and sow yourself into the soil. Eat that idea, drink that idea, sleep that idea, and through you, great tree of creativity will flourish. What a beautiful idea this is. In explaining this, Swamiji also says, I must tell you, it is Swami Vivekananda's statement. He says, in your life, do what you enjoy. But if you can't, then learn to enjoy what you do. For Swamiji, this birth as human beings is something to enjoy. So let us all take at least one seed, sow ourselves like that seed, and irrigate that and eat that and drink that. To all of us, great acts of courage and great acts of creativity will come up. Swamiji was fond of reminding us this line from Upanishad, with which I also close my talk. Swamiji used to remind, Uttishtata, Jagrata, Prapya Varan Nirmodhata. Arise, awake, and stop not until the goal is reached. If our goal is from self-realization to India's emergence as a strong, benevolent nation for the world, and then the goal of telling Adhyatma philosophy to the whole world, let us rise up, awake, and stop not until the goal is reached. Thank you. All the best, everyone.
Avinashji, thank you very much. A very fascinating account of Swamiji's life. And I would now like our members of the audience to post their questions in the chat box. And while we receive the questions, I would like to inform you, or mention to you that just 2 days back, we had the Korean ambassador at our session, Mr. Shin Bokil, and he spoke exactly of the thought that you expressed today, that we see India as our spiritual homeland because this is the birthplace of Buddhism. Yeah. And he said that while South Korea has advanced so much in technology, we would like to collaborate closely with India and offer our technology for development of the country. Yeah. And the topic of his talk was strategic partnership with India, which takes us back to Swami Vivekananda's thought 130 years back, 120 years back.
I'm happy to hear this.
So, in fact, one question that I had was that we lost Swamiji at the young age of 30 years. And what were the circumstances of his demise, and Imagine what transformation he could have achieved had he lived for another 30 years.
That reminds me of yet another of his statement, that I have given enough for the whole world for next 1,500 years. So maybe he thought that his life mission, the reason he had taken that body, is fulfilled. At rational level, one can say that in spite of all yoga and adhyatma, Swamiji suffered from many medical ailments. He had diabetes and blood pressure. He also suffered from insomnia. So he died young, less than 40, was barely 39. But like me and like Ramakrishna Mission, who believe in Adhyatma philosophy, may agree Ramakrishna Paramahansa's statement that the day Naren understands who he is, he will leave this body. So on July 4, 1902, the way Swamiji left his body, it's a yogic process really, that yogis can deliberately leave their body. So at 39, it is Swamiji who chose to leave his body, and that yogic process is called Mahasamadhi. It is up to every one of us to believe any interpretation that we want to.
Okay. So, one observation that I want to share with you is that while meeting various people as a journalist, and I'm going back 25 years ago, young people and middle-aged people from various professions, from IT, from education, doctors, one could see a photo frame or a bust of Swami Vivekananda in their room. And when this happened again and again, out of curiosity, I would ask them that you seem to be inspired by Swami Vivekananda, and what is it that has inspired you? So, if one were to ask you, what is the central message that Swami Vivekananda has for India today or for the youth today, what would you say?
Your query or your sentences also give me an opportunity to use those two beautiful terms that are used about Swamiji. The term is Yodha Sannyasi. Swamiji comes across like Yodha Sannyasi. He challenges established bad things, fights, and he is a crusader. So what inspires Swamiji is his eternal youth, his fact of being Yodha Sannyasi. And I would say Swamiji's central message to India, including the youth, will be to go beyond selfish interest, understand the great creative fountain hidden in oneself, and work for the welfare of the commonest of the common masses. And with the philosophy of Adhyatma, work for poorest of the poor masses and ensure that India emerges as a strong nation, and that strong India is a benevolent factor for the whole world. I think this is Swamiji's core message, in addition to the scientific nature of Vedanta philosophy, that Vedanta is science, and now science is becoming Vedanta. That is universal bond that brings the whole humanity together. I think that is the core message of Swamiji.
I would like to invite Professor Malik and Dr. Kelkar to present their observations, comments, or questions. You're most welcome, and others also may please post their questions in the chat box while we are having this very fascinating conversation. Professor Malik, please.
Thank you. It's wonderful, particularly for a person like me who has been also have done 30-40 younger Guruji, and of course I also try to understand. We scientists have been looking for the coherence between or science and spirit. There are many books that are like the word duality has an identity. You understand what is duality, and therefore you probably understand what is non-duality. In the same context, somebody has to sorry, yeah. So if somebody were to talk about spirituality, can you think of the real link that can be there between science and spirituality?
Within the framework of available time, I believe I can.
Okay.
Physics has proven that entire and that weak forces at subatomic level or strong forces or electromagnetic in the end become one. So that oneness has been proven. The material expression also is out of that oneness. Atoms take shape. Then atoms connect themselves to form molecules. And then we have rest of physics or biology or everything. So modern physics has proven that there is one energy, and Einstein later on, when he expresses this equation E is equal to mc square, is unified field. And there are
I think it's breaking up. So I will go off.
opposite of each other. So how do you scientifically sort out those conclusions? So Einstein formed a theory called unified field theory. Now, scientifically and experimentally speaking, it has not been proven, but it has been mathematically proven, and it has not also been disproven. Unified field theory is Adda, the philosophy of oneness, and there are single atom, and in about practically one and the same ones. As of today, I would restrict myself to only this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we have one question that did Swamiji's agnostic behavior with Ramakrishna Paramhans create a strong footing for Swamiji's journey further on? And was Ramakrishna Paramhans' patience the key to their relationship? This is a question from one of our listeners.
Yeah. Swamiji's not just agnosticism but rebellion also is a mark of his high caliber, that he would not just accept something just because somebody else is saying so. He would challenge it. He would want to experience it himself. Is a mark of his high caliber. It is also thanks to that high caliber that Swamiji also tells us not to accept anything just because Swamiji says so. He says, you experiment and you travel the path, and only after you are convinced, then accept what I am saying. I think this kind of confidence, when one has a conviction, one has conviction about the truth of what. So Swamiji's agnosticism was a mark of his rebellious youth. As to Ramakrishna Paramahans, with his adhyatmic capacities, he could see through that agnosticism a great. So that Narendra will find his own truth. That is what Ramakrishna and Narendra were connected with each other. Ramakrishna saw the divinity in Narendra. That divinity, capacity to see that divinity gives patience to Ramakrishna. So the patience was born out of realization of divinity. It's not just patience, it is deep love and the bond of love between the two of them.
So we are almost towards the end of our session, and we've had a very fascinating glimpse into the life of Swami Vivekananda from you, Avinashji. Thank you very much for that. I mean, 1 hour is too short a period to understand the depth of the contribution that Swami Vivekananda has made to India and the world. And you took us on this journey right from your childhood days when you were influenced by Raj Yoga to 9/11 and the discovery of Swami Vivekananda and his guru Ramakrishna Paramhans. And you spoke of the Swami Vivekananda paradigm, which is so relevant to the world today. And in fact, Yuval Noah Harari also speaks of the same thing. He says that the world has to come together as one. That is the only solution to the future of mankind. And we finally spoke of the need for scientific temper and to get rid of evils like caste system and extreme poverty and illiteracy in India. So a very fascinating talk. Thank you very much, Avinash. And I thank all the members of our audience for participating in this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Namaskar. Wonderful hearing your talk.